you watching Morning Live. Thank you very much for staying with us now for more than 25 years. Well-known art collector and philanthropist Jack Ginsberg has gathered an extraordinary collection of more than 700 artworks, books and ephemera by esteemed South African artist Walter Battiss, I hope I said it correctly. This collection will be shown at the Wits Art Museum for the first time, curated by Warren Siebrits. Both gentlemen join me in the studio to talk about this exhibition. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's start with the art collector, because I'm always fascinated, Jack, especially with people that have developed a passion and that they have managed to not only keep that passion going, but get other people excited about it. Talk to me about this collection.
Well, I started collecting in the late 1970s, collected quite a few pieces by the time Walter Battiss, the artist, died in 1982. But in the intervening years between 1982 and now, it's grown to 700 pieces.
Wow.
And of course, I can't really cope with all of those. I've got only about 30 hanging in my house. So now they're all going to the Wits Art Museum, and they're putting on a huge exhibition starting on the 5th, that's Tuesday night. And it'll be on for 3 months. And then it'll be available to students, researchers, and not only from Wits University, but from any university.
As a collector, what are the elements that kind of the boxes that you have to tick? What is it? What is an art piece or a collection? What does it resonate with you? What does it speak to you?
Well, you've got to like the artist, and you've got to like the work. In Walter Battiss's case, I liked him as an individual. He was a very eccentric and transgressive individual in the 60s when I was a teenager, and growing up in the 70s. But I loved his work, and I started by collecting his screen prints, which were relatively cheap in those days, and worked up by collecting watercolors, which he's the greatest exponent of South African watercolorist, I guess. And wonderful draftsman, great drawings in ink and relief prints in wood blocks, all sorts of things. He could do anything. The most expensive things, of course, are oils. So I don't have too many of those, but altogether there are a lot of things.
Warren, when you talk to somebody like a Jack, who's a collector and knows this artist backwards and forwards, how difficult does your job become to curate this experience?
Look, it was quite a challenge with 700 works.
Yeah.
But I think the big breakthrough was to see Walter Battiss over his 50-year career as an artist, to break it up into 5 stages, or 5 lives, as he wrote in a letter to a friend. He actually thought that he actually had 5 lives, which is quite fantastic. So the show is literally broken up into these 5 periods, which I'll explain quickly. It's his early years as an artist and a teacher. He then got very interested in rock art in the 30s and 40s and got to meet Pablo Picasso, who was the world's most famous artist.
Wow.
And they remained in touch till Picasso's death. It was then the 50s, so we look at the 50s as a decade. The 60s as a decade. We did a lot of traveling, particularly in East Africa, Zanzibar, Mombasa. He went to Southern Arabia, and then to Greece 5 times between 1965 to 68 on 5 trips, because he was a school teacher, so he'd always take his school holidays and go traveling. And then always with these trips, he would turn the experiences into artwork. And then the last period, which is the best known period to and most loved by most South Africans and art fans, is a thing called Fook Island, or Fook, where he not only developed his own imaginary island, but he developed a postal system, a language, and an alphabet, which Jack actually writes a whole essay about. He had his own money and his own passport.
Very quickly, we've run out of time. This is very fascinating. Where can people go for the exhibition, very quickly? Wits Art Museum, when and where?
Wits Art Museum, it's on Tuesday. I think it's the 5th, 5th of July.
And it's on for 3 months.
6:30.
So there's no excuses for you to take. You can take your family, friends, and your enemies. Go and check this out. Jack Ginsberg and Warren Siebrits in studio with us, talking about what I can only consider to be a fascinating exhibition happening at the Wits Art Museum. That's how we end the program.